Welcome back to Morgan's video blog with writing tips from the pros and, of course, my own writerly musings. Today, I'm here to talk to you about Ravencon. So, first up, let's talk about what are panelists. Conventions have speakers. Fan-run conventions are usually entirely volunteer run, and they usually have a very small number of guests of honor whose ways are paid and a larger collection of panelists. Some conventions do make panelists pay full price for their membership. Some give a discount, and some let you attend for free in exchange for being on a certain number of panels. While guests of honor and special guests are always invited, more and more conventions are going to a apply if you want in model, in part to make sure that it's an opt-in sort of situation, and partially to encourage fresh faces. If you have the same panelists year after year, sometimes you end up with the same people on the same panel discussion. And cons do like to offer at least a percentage of new offerings, especially for those who have been attending for years. Paneling is a good way to network and establish a reputation in the community and get the word out about whatever your latest offering is. A couple years ago, I'd applied to a bunch of local conventions to be a panelist on my friend Doc Coleman's advice. Now, I'd hesitated because I wasn't a published author at that point and barely qualify now, but I went ahead and applied based on my other merits, being a blogger, a vlogger, a podcaster, etc. While I'm not a teacher, I like to think I can string together thoughts on a topic in a coherent way and give a few useful takeaways. I even usually manage to let the other panelists get their thoughts out too. And so I made it onto the list of panelists for Ravencon 2020 in Williamsburg, Virginia, in part because they do like to have a third of their panelists be fresh faces every year. Then COVID hit, and my inaugural Ravencon attendance got pushed back to 2021, and then to 2022, and moved to Richmond. This past weekend, it finally happened. Ravencon 2022. So I went down late Thursday night and found myself at a campus-style hotel center spread across 3 buildings. I made it to my room about 1 a.m. and headed off to sleep. Friday morning, bright and early. Okay, maybe not that early. I sorted out the schedule and managed to get a couple of chapters edited in my space fantasy, and then I took a nap because Reg didn't even open till 1. I woke just in time for that Reg line to open, and halfway through the line, I found out that the panelists had a different line in a different building. So I chatted with a couple of the other panelists as we walked over, and getting my badge was a breeze. Lunch was the hotel buffet. Corn dogs and funnel cakes make for a very happy Morgan. As I go to sit down by my lonesome and pull out my phone, I realize I don't have my phone. I told the buffet staff, especially since my phone is my wallet and I didn't want them to think I was skipping out, and retraced my steps. I was totally frantic. When I returned empty-handed, they offered to call me. I just told them my phone number when I found it in an unfamiliar pocket of my shoulder bag. Whoops! But huge relief. Anyway, Reg opened at 1, but the panels and the dealer's room didn't really kick off until closer to 5. So I went to the courtyard and reviewed my panel schedule and found I was the moderator for both of my Friday panels, not just one. So I made some notes and then headed inside before I could sunburn. I ran across a few friends and chatted their ears off. Shocking, I'm sure. And after my late night drive, my neck was feeling one wrong move away from misaligning itself. So I was thrilled to find chair massages available. And I didn't throw out my neck all weekend. So I took a stroll through the dealer's hall and bought a poster from a lady outside in the artist alley. Unfortunately, the bags she'd purchased for her legal paper-sized prints were wrong. Very wrong. How wrong can a bag be, you ask? Well, the bags didn't open on the handle side. And the print size matched the bag size, including the handles that the bag wasn't open to. So she couldn't seal the bottom to keep the print from falling out. I hope they were a missend because it was ridiculous. Anywho, I managed to get the poster safely back to my room and then hunted across 2 buildings to find my panel room for the writer and the beta reader, where we ended up with 2 of the 4 panelists and 1 audience member. We gave people a few more minutes to trickle in and shrugged and got on with it. With that small of a group, we just asked the audience member what she was working on and which end she wanted advice for, beta reading or writing side. I think the panel went well, although we were getting low on things to say by the end. Hungry, I headed to the bar and ended up chatting with a couple I knew from working Balticon for a while, and then a cosplayer before I headed off to my next panel, social media, or why I haven't finished my novel. And that one had 3 of the 4 panelists and 2 audience members, a good friend and the wife of the 3rd panelist. Despite the small numbers, we had a great discussion, and I don't think the audience was bored. Done for the evening, I wandered into a panel room for this one time at Con and laughed quite a bit. As my evening wound down, I went in search of room parties, but they seemed sparse, or I didn't wander the right way. I did find one and hung out for a while, and then bed late. Saturday morning came far too soon, especially since I decided to hit a 9 a.m. panel. I usually don't roll into day job until 9:30, but it was pacing your novel, and what can I say? Pacing is the thing I stress most about in my work, and the author guest of honor, Terry Brooks of Shannara, was going to be on the panel. I was only a couple minutes late and got tons of notes. Then I followed the crowd into the Falstaff Books Roadshow and heard about a lot of great sounding books, and then wandered across the hall for Writing the Alien, since my space fantasy has 3 point of view characters and 1 is a sentient space, not an octopus. Some panels are good for the notes you get from them, and some are great for the ideas and inspiration you come out of them with. This was definitely a great panel. After that, I finally made it back to my room for a shower, got my editing for the day done, and then lunch. I ate tacos with a local lady who'd already spent her budget in the dealer's room and was going to be heading out after lunch. She also believes in the nachos with the chips on the side philosophy, so I feel vindicated. After I checked out the dealer's room, I decided to hit the concert for the musical guest of honor, Rhiannon's Lark. I was tapping my feet the whole time, but we all know Morgan is easily amused. 5 p.m. was my next panel, Best Social Media Practices for Writers. Now, I've been worried that it was going to be me solo, since initially the schedule only had 2 of us on the panel, and I knew that the other panelist was skipping the weekend because she had a sore throat. Luckily, 2 other panelists had signed on, and I was not the moderator. Saturday had a much nicer crowd, probably into the double digits, and you're probably well aware how much I have to say about social media best practices. I snagged the moderator after the panel with a couple of his friends, and we talked about Facebook ads and such for almost an hour, eventually snagging an unused table in the game room to continue our conversation. At 7 p.m., I had my final panel of the weekend, NaNoWriMo. As a 6-time finisher and repeated Camp Nano attempter, I got to share what works for me. The audience again was probably double digits. Huge relief after Friday. Then again, with such a small convention, I suppose it wasn't a surprise that Saturday was the main day, and I'm not exactly the biggest draw. So, hungry again, I spotted a friend in a restaurant and joined her and her table. and she wandered off almost immediately for her escape room appointment. But I chatted and introduced myself to a revolving crowd of people who didn't want to take the space away from me, at least. And I waited for my food. After an hour, I flagged down a waitress, and the food finally showed up hot. So I guess they just lost the entry? I don't know. Some great conversations, and I met one of the people who'd been mentioned in the cocktails the night before. So, super friendly guy. I wandered until I found the room parties and had just gotten myself a weak red vodka jello shot when somebody came looking for more people to attend a concert. I like geeky music, so I and probably 6 or 7 other people decided to give it a try. We even picked up a friend of mine on the way, and we walked into a wall of sound. It was far too loud for the space and way more metal than I was up to at that hour. Then again, you're talking to the girl who wore earplugs for her first concert when she was like 16, and it was like Christian rock or something with her youth group. I covered my ears to muffle the volume, but I had to split before they hit the second song, and I wasn't the only one. I tried, a little less volume, and I might have stayed. Instead, I headed back to the room party to mingle until the yawns overtook me. So Sunday, I woke far too early on Sunday considering what time I went to bed, and then failed at rolling over until like 10:45 when I flung on clothes, packed quickly, and got out of there before I overstayed my 11 a.m. checkout time, and slipped into the building a subplot panel with Terry Brooks again. Not quite 10 minutes late. Good notes from that one too. With a quick look at the schedule and a hard look at the time, I did one last pass through the convention to say goodbye to people, and then hit the road, making it home in time to give Catechus an hour of lap time before my weekly live stream write-in, where I finished this round of edits on my Space Fantasy only one day late to count for Camp Nano, or April's Camp Nano. And that was my Ravencon weekend. A little busy, and now you know the glamour of the I'm not even infamous, non-famous panelists life. So if you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and tune in again next week for more writing tips and writerly musings. Bye-bye.